When you're a first-time parent, you're filled with all types of emotion. You're nervous, excited, and you're full of hope and anticipation that comes with bringing a new life into the world. My wife and I, we actually spent months preparing, going through the whole nesting phase, folding tiny clothes, dreaming about the moment when you finally hear that little baby's first cry and you get to hold them in your arms for the very first time. And as for somebody that's not super emotional, it's a really magical moment. And for many, having a child is one of life's greatest milestones, something dreamed about since childhood, a moment that defines what love, purpose, and family truly mean. For most parents, childbirth is one of life's most powerful and emotional experiences. The moment pain turns to joy, and fear transforms into awe. It's the culmination of months of love, sacrifice, and quiet prayers. It's the moment that defines unconditional love, the kind that only a parent can truly understand. Now, imagine that moment, the one you've dreamed about your entire life, turning into your worst nightmare. You go into labor, full of excitement and nervousness, expecting to leave the hospital with your newborn, but instead, you leave empty-handed. The nursery you carefully prepared now stands silent. The cries you waited for never come, and the joy that was supposed to fill your home is replaced by grief and disbelief. For one Georgia couple, that unimaginable nightmare became their reality. What should have been the happiest day of their lives, the birth of their first child, turned horrific in an instant. Their baby was decapitated during delivery. At first, it sounded like a tragic medical accident, something rare, something unforeseeable. But soon, the truth began to unravel. This wasn't just a medical mishap. This was negligence, a tragedy that would later be ruled a homicide. Today, we're taking you behind the headlines of one of the most shocking and heartbreaking stories to come out of Georgia. A story of loss, accountability, and the unimaginable pain of parents who dream of holding their newborn turned into a nightmare. This episode contains graphic and emotional details that may be difficult for some listeners. Before we get into what happened inside that delivery room, let's just take a moment to talk about the couple at the center of this heartbreaking story. Jessica Ross and Traveon Isaiah Taylor Sr. were expecting first-time parents, young, excited, and preparing to welcome their baby boy into the world. By all accounts, this was supposed to be one of the best days of their lives. Like so many expectant parents, they had spent months dreaming about their future as a family, setting up their nursery, picking out baby names, and imagining what life would look like with their son. They weren't celebrities or people used to being in the spotlight. They were an everyday Georgia couple, working hard, building a life together, and waiting for that moment they could finally hold their baby for the first time. Jessica worked as a hairstylist, while Traveon Isaiah Taylor Sr. worked in the hospitality sector. There isn't much publicly known about the couple, but their Facebook profiles indicate they are both from Atlanta, Georgia, and are currently engaged to one another. Traveon graduated from North Clayton High School in 2020, where he played football. Young in love and filled with excitement for this new chapter of their lives, they were eagerly preparing to welcome their first child. Jessica was only 20 years old when she was about to give birth to their son, Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr., named after his father. But instead of leaving the hospital with their newborn, Jessica and Traveon were confronted with unimaginable heartbreak, the kind no parent should ever have to endure. Now, I do want to note that while there isn't much publicly available information about the overall course of Jessica Ross's pregnancy or whether her due date was typical, we do know that doctors had diagnosed her with diabetes about a year earlier, a condition that made her pregnancy high risk. Despite this, Jessica Ross said she attended all of her required prenatal appointments to ensure both her health and her baby's. What we do know is that her baby, Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr., was delivered at full term. When Jessica's water broke shortly after 8:30 p.m. on July 9th, 2023, her then boyfriend Traveon rushed her to the emergency room at Southern Regional Medical Center in Riverdale, Georgia. Jessica immediately went into labor and her delivery began early the next morning, July 10th. For these first-time parents, it was meant to be an exciting, life-changing moment, a time filled with new experiences and the beginning of a brand new chapter. But tragically, that chapter would take a heartbreaking and unimaginable turn. Giving birth is a scary experience for anyone, but especially for first-time parents. You can prepare as much as you want, read every book, and attend every class, but you can't fully anticipate the pain, the uncertainty, or the intensity of labor. You hope and trust that the doctors and nurses guiding you through the process know exactly what they're doing, that they'll keep you safe, and help bring your child into the world. For Jessica and Traveon, that trust was shattered. What should have been a moment of joy, hope, and new beginnings turned into a nightmare no parent could have ever imagined. Before I continue, I want to issue another trigger warning. In the following segment, I will describe childbirth and infant death, which may be traumatic or triggering to some viewers. At first, everything seemed normal. Jessica Ross, like many first-time mothers, was ready to bring her child into the world. But sometime during the delivery, something went terribly wrong. The baby, Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr., became stuck in the birth canal, a rare but serious emergency known as shoulder dystocia, where the baby's shoulder gets lodged behind the mother's pelvic bone. Once their baby's shoulders got caught in the vaginal canal, he stopped moving, making it hard for Jessica and the hospital staff to get him out. For hours, Jessica pushed, trying to deliver her baby, while medical staff worked to resolve the emergency. In these situations, there are supposed to be specific steps that healthcare providers are trained to take, applying pressure in certain ways, calling for extra support, and acting quickly to prevent harm to both the mother and child. Unfortunately, according to reports, these steps were not taken properly, and the delivery turned fatal. When Dr. Tracy St. Julian arrived, the family's obstetrician, she initially tried to deliver the baby naturally rather than through a C-section. But what we would later find out was that the bones in the baby's skull, face, and neck were all broken as the doctor tugged on him too hard to try to get him out. After 3 hours of a difficult vaginal delivery and no luck in getting her son out, Jessica was moved to an operating room for a cesarean section. Tragically, by this point, her baby's body had already suffered catastrophic injuries due to excessive force applied during the attempt to deliver vaginally, and as a result, their infant did not survive. For those of you like me who are parents, or anyone imagining this scenario, it's almost impossible to comprehend the heartbreak and trauma of such a delivery. A moment that should have been the start of a new life instead of becoming a nightmare that no family should ever face. By this point, the situation still seemed like a tragic, heartbreaking accident. The new parents knew their son hadn't survived, but even in their grief, all they wanted was to see their child, to hold him, and to see his face one last time. Instead, according to Dr. Roderick Edmond, one of the family's attorneys, the hospital staff refused to give them that opportunity. Staff allegedly suggested cremating the baby's body almost immediately, telling the family that a free autopsy wasn't available through the county, and only allowed the parents to view their baby through a glass window. And even when Jessica and Traveon did get the short chance to see their precious baby, he looked innocent, pure. Their infant was wrapped in a blanket, with his head propped atop his body. Nothing looked ajar or like anything was wrong. But what his parents didn't know was that the staff apparently purposefully wrapped him like this to hide the true extent of his fatal injuries. And that's not all. It actually wasn't until 3 days after the birth that the parents learned the shocking truth. Willie A. Watkins Funeral Home, which had taken possession of their son's body, actually was the one to notify the county medical examiner's office, and finally then, the parents, about the state of their child's remains, that their son had been physically decapitated during labor. They were unaware. They were told that the baby didn't make it. Attorney Corey Lynch told People magazine. They were not told of the condition of the body. What makes this case even more shocking is how the hospital handled the situation after the baby's death. Under standard medical and legal protocol, when a newborn dies, especially in a traumatic or unusual delivery, the hospital is supposed to contact the county medical examiner immediately. This isn't just bureaucracy. It's to ensure an independent investigation and autopsy so families can know the truth about what happened. According to Brian Byers, the director of the Clayton County Medical Examiner's Office, the hospital should have contacted them first due to the traumatic nature of the infant's death, not the funeral home. But in this case, Southern Regional Medical Center allegedly didn't do that. Instead, according to the family's attorneys, they treated the death like a routine stillbirth and reportedly pushed toward cremation. The parents, already grappling with the devastation of losing their first child, were left completely in the dark. They didn't know the full truth about their baby's condition for 3 days afterward. It actually wasn't until the funeral home reached out to the county medical examiner that the reality finally came to light. The hospital's failure to alert the proper authorities wasn't just a procedural mistake, it was a shocking betrayal. For the parents, it meant their grief was compounded by confusion, mistrust, and the horrifying knowledge that the truth about their child had been deliberately hidden from them. It's a layer of heartbreak that no family should ever have to endure. One of the family's attorneys emphasized the seriousness of the baby's concealment. It is completely unacceptable for the doctor to withhold information like this from patients at any point, Dr. Roderick Edmond said. He added that there are clear medical protocols for handling such situations, and withholding critical details from parents violates those protocols. The shocking nature of the case became even clearer when the decapitated baby arrived at Willie A. Watkins' funeral home.
I've seen almost everything, and I won't say that no more because this was something I had never seen. Seeing the pain and anguish as if like what really just happened, your heart goes out to them.
It's diabolical in my mind. Family attorney Dr. Roderick Edmonds said that they tried to basically force her to get the baby cremated to basically spoil the evidence. That they lied to them saying, "You can't get a free autopsy at the expense of Clayton County." It wasn't until the funeral home contacted the baby's family, and it was during this call speaking with the grandmother that they learned the heartbreaking truth about their child's condition, not from the hospital, but from the funeral home themselves. Selenia Watkins also obviously alerted the Clayton County Medical Examiner's Office, who then sent an investigator to begin a formal probe into the infant's death. Brian Byers, director of the Medical Examiner's Office, emphasized the unusual nature of the situation. "I can never recall a time that we have received a phone call from a funeral home saying we need to report this type of death." He said the incident prompted notifications to the Georgia Composite Medical Board to investigate the doctors involved and requests for oversight from the Secretary of State's office regarding nursing conduct. The Clayton County Police Department and the GBI also started their own investigation.
There's just a lot of people out there trying to get to the bottom of this, and everybody works independently. Everybody's agnostic to each other's investigation, although we will try to share each other's facts with each other. But I think that the public should feel very secure that the truth will come out, whatever that might be, when it's all said and done.
Once the parents discovered that what they had been shown was staged, their grief turned into a sharp sense of betrayal. The brief glimpse they were allowed, seeing their child wrapped, his head propped up unnaturally, was not a true farewell, but a deliberate attempt to conceal the reality of what happened.
We just want justice for our son. They lied to us. They ain't let us touch him. We don't like it. We just want justice for our son.
And you want to say something, babe?
For parents already facing the unimaginable loss of their firstborn, this act cut even deeper. The very professionals entrusted with their child's care, the ones whose responsibility was to protect him, had manipulated the moment meant for mourning, leaving the parents with shock and anger, and the haunting sense that their child had been denied dignity even in death. Amid the heartbreak, confusion, and anger, Jessica and Traveon found themselves facing a reality no parent should ever have to endure. But rather than letting the trauma silence them, they channeled their grief into action, determined to uncover the truth about what happened to their son and to hold those responsible accountable. The couple filed a lawsuit against the hospital. Their pain became the driving force behind their pursuit of justice, not just for Traveon Jr., but to ensure that no other family would have to endure a tragedy like theirs. Their lawsuit outlines a series of alleged failures that turned a moment meant to be joyous into a nightmare. At the center of the complaint is the claim that the hospital staff mishandled the birth. When little Travion's shoulders became stuck, the dangerous condition called shoulder dystocia, the attending physician allegedly applied excessive force instead of performing a timely cesarean section, directly contributing to the fatal injury. According to the family's lawsuit, Dr. St. Julian did not tell Jessica Ross or the child's father about their infant's decapitation. The lawsuit alleges a failure to fully inform the parents about their baby's condition. Instead of receiving transparency, they were only allowed to glimpse their child through glass, wrapped in a blanket with his head propped unnaturally, concealing the true extent of his injuries. Again, it was the funeral home that first revealed the horrifying truth 3 days later.
They lied to them and said, you cannot hold your baby, you cannot touch your baby. Then Southern Regional Medical Center, they capitulated a little bit. They said, okay, you can look at your child through a glass window, and they wrapped the baby tightly in a blanket, propped the baby's head up on the body, and set the baby up through a glass window, basically making it look like there was no decapitation.
They did everything in their power to try to not let the family know what actually happened.
The lawsuit also claims the hospital discouraged the infant's parents from seeking an autopsy, saying a free autopsy was not an option for them under their circumstances. Instead, the couple claims hospital staff recommended that they have their son cremated instead of being sent to a funeral home. The lawsuit alleged the obstetrician, Dr. St. Julian, failed to practice according to medical standards when she grossly negligently applied excessive traction on Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr.'s head and neck and grossly negligently failed to do a cesarean section in a timely and proper manner, resulting in Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr.'s decapitation and death. According to the lawsuit, the couple claimed that they had asked for a C-section earlier during the delivery process, when the baby still could have survived, but were denied.
Attorneys said they're seeking compensation and punitive damages, adding this tragedy and subsequent sorrow could have been prevented.
My clients asked for a C-section much sooner than it was ever delivered, while the baby was viable.
The lawsuit also stated that Premier Women's OBGYN LLC is liable for the grossly negligent acts and omissions of its employee and/or agent Tracy St. Julian, MD, who cared for Miss Jessica Ross and Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr. on or about July 9th, 2023. Additionally, the lawsuit names several nurses who were also accused of gross negligence because they reportedly did not follow proper procedures once it was determined that a shoulder dystocia had occurred. According to the complaint, the nurses owed an independent duty to the infant's family. Adding to the shock, the suit claims that hospital staff did not immediately notify the county medical examiner, a standard requirement in cases of traumatic or unusual infant deaths, and reportedly even pushed for cremation, potentially destroying evidence. The complaint calls for a thorough investigation into the roles of the doctors and other staff involved.
What happened? Why was there not an alert put out all throughout the hospital to say we have a shoulder dystocia so that new eyes could come in and look? You know, why weren't the proper procedures done in terms of maneuvers and the like?
We just want justice for our son. They lied to us. They ain't let us touch him. We don't like it. We just want justice for our son.
We're going to depose everybody who was in the room, all the nurses, all the scrub techs, everybody, to find out essentially what the hell happened. What happened?
Just come forward, please. The nurses that was in the room, please just come forward. Please. I just want justice for my baby.
At its core, the lawsuit framed this tragedy as the result of medical negligence, concealment, and violations of protocol, holding the hospital accountable for what the parents describe as the preventable and devastating loss of their first child. In response to the family's lawsuit, a spokesperson with the Southern Regional Medical Center released this statement, denying the hospital of any wrongdoing. Our heartfelt thoughts and prayers are with the family and all those impacted by this tragic event. Our prayers also remain with the dedicated team of physicians, nurses, and staff at Southern Regional Medical Center who cared for this patient. As our deepest sympathies remain with the family, Southern Regional Medical Center denies the allegations of wrongdoing in the complaint referencing the hospital. Due to patient privacy laws and HIPAA, we are unable to discuss the care and treatment of specific patients, but we can state this unfortunate infant death occurred in utero prior to the delivery and decapitation. The hospital voluntarily reported the death to the Clayton County Medical Examiner's office and is cooperating with all investigations. Since this matter is in litigation, we cannot provide additional statements. Dr. St. Julian is not and never has been an employee of the hospital. Our commitment is to provide compassionate quality care to every single patient, and this loss is heartbreaking for all involved. And then in early 2024, the family's worst fears were confirmed. What they suspected all along, that this wasn't just a tragic childbirth complication, turned out to be true. In February 2024, the Clayton County Medical Examiner's Office ruled baby Traveon Isaiah Taylor Jr.'s death a homicide. The findings were chilling. The cause of death, a fracture and complete severing of the upper spine and spinal cord, injuries consistent with excessive force applied during delivery. According to the report, the baby became stuck during labor due to shoulder dystocia, a known medical emergency that requires delicate, precise intervention. But instead of acting quickly or calling for help, Dr. Tracy St. Julian allegedly kept trying to deliver the baby vaginally for hours. It wasn't until hours later that she finally decided to perform a C-section, but by then, it was far too late. The baby's body was delivered through surgery, his head separately, vaginally.
I just want justice for my baby boy. I'm hurt. I'm hurt bad. She hurt me. She took my baby. She did it. But he didn't show no remorse. So I just want justice for my baby. It hurt. Because I wasn't holding him. And he kept telling me no.
Yeah. That hurts. Can't even get to touch him.
Just come forward, please. The nurses that was in the room, please just come forward. Please. I just justice for my baby.
Right after we filed the suit back in August of 2023, representatives from Southern Regional Medical Center, they came out with a statement saying that the baby was dead before the decapitation, really implying that it was complications of the shoulder dystocia that killed the baby and not excessive traction and trauma to the neck. The Clayton County Medical Examiner's determination, when they put out that press release a couple of days ago, completely gouges that defense. What they did is that they determined that the cause of death was homicide.
Following this devastating revelation, Clayton County Police launched a criminal investigation, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Pediatric Forensic Pathology team was called in to assist with the autopsy. State boards also began reviewing the roles of the doctor and nurses present that night. What began as a quiet tragedy inside a hospital room had now become a full-blown criminal medical investigation, one centered on the question, was this death the result of negligence? Attorneys for the family say yes. Dr. St. Julian, they argue, failed to perform a timely C-section and instead applied excessive traction to the baby's head and neck, something that no credible or competent obstetrician should ever do, according to the family's attorney, Dr. Roderick Edmond.
During the course of the pushing, the baby stopped descending. There's something called a shoulder dystocia, fancy word for saying that the baby's shoulders could not fit through the pelvic girdle. It got stuck by the bone there in the pelvic girdle. That was recognized, and what wound up happening after that is just brutal. Dr. St. Julian came in, and she, in the process of trying to deliver this baby, pulled on the baby's head and neck so hard and manipulated them so hard that the bones in the baby's skull, face, and neck were broken. When Dr. St. Julian finally took Miss Ross to the operating room for a C-section, cesarean section, where they cut the belly and deliver the baby through the abdomen, when the womb was open, the feet came out, the body came out, and there was no head. The head was stuck in the vagina, and the head subsequently was delivered vaginally. The baby had been decapitated.
But the doctor's legal team tells a very different story. In a public statement, they denied any wrongdoing and claimed that the baby had already died in the womb before the injuries occurred. They called the separation of the head from the body a post-mortem event, something that, while tragic, can happen naturally in rare cases. The obstetrician's attorney, Scott Bailey, argued that Dr. St. Julian used every maneuver a reasonable obstetrician would have employed to save both mother and child, and that she acted decisively and reasonably under immense pressure. The contrast between these two accounts, one describing reckless negligence, the other a desperate attempt to save lives, is shocking to say the least. Yet the medical examiner's ruling remains clear. This was no accident. The baby's injuries were the result of human action, and that single finding transformed this case from an unthinkable tragedy into one of Georgia's most disturbing medical scandals. So, who exactly is Dr. Tracy St. Julian, the doctor who delivered Jessica Ross's baby? And more importantly, how was she the one performing the delivery if, according to the hospital, she wasn't actually an employee of Southern Regional Medical Center? That part alone raises a lot of questions. According to records, Dr. St. Julian is a board-certified OBGYN with over 2 decades of experience in women's health. She runs a private practice called Premier Women's OBGYN, which operates 2 offices in the Atlanta area and offers everything from routine prenatal care to high-risk pregnancy management, infertility treatment, and even circumcisions. She earned her medical degree from the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston back in 1996, then completed her OBGYN residency through the National Capital Consortium, a program connected to Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. and Bethesda, Maryland. Since around 2005, she's been practicing in the Atlanta area and was known to be affiliated with Southern Regional Medical Center and Piedmont Fayette Hospital. So even though she attempted to deliver their infant at that particular hospital, she was not technically a hospital employee. She was affiliated through her own OBGYN practice. This kind of arrangement is very common in the US. Many doctors have admitting and delivery privileges at hospitals but are not directly employed by them. As of now, there's no public record of any prior malpractice cases or disciplinary actions against her before this particular incident. But it's worth noting that information like that isn't always easily accessible unless formal complaints have been filed or investigated. And if you thought the lawsuit and the homicide ruling were the end of this nightmare, it wasn't. In fact, it was only the beginning. After enduring the unthinkable loss of their baby and fighting for justice in court, Jessica Ross and Traveon Taylor Sr. were forced to relive their trauma all over again. This time, in one of the most disturbing ways imaginable. The couple filed a second lawsuit, this time against a pathologist who had been hired to perform an independent autopsy on their baby. They accused him of doing something so shocking, so cruel, that it left the family and the public absolutely horrified. According to reports, the family had hired Dr. Jackson Gates, an independent pathologist from Atlanta, to conduct a private autopsy as part of their ongoing investigation into the death of their infant. But just days later, the family discovered something horrifying. Graphic photos and videos of their decapitated baby had been posted on Instagram. Imagine that for a moment. You're scrolling through social media and suddenly coming across images of your own deceased child, shared publicly without your consent. It's something that no parent should ever have to experience. Dr. Gates allegedly posted the images, which included photos of the baby's severed head and internal organs, claiming they were for educational purposes. In one of his now deleted videos, the pathologist defended himself and his actions, saying this:
I want you to hear this clearly. I will never divulge the identity or disclose the identity of any live patients or either deceased patients that come for my care.
But as the family's attorney pointed out, what educational value could there possibly be in sharing graphic images of a decapitated infant online? According to the family attorney, the pathologist's behavior was nothing short of diabolical, even after the family's lawyers sent a cease and desist letter demanding he take the posts down. Dr. Gates allegedly reposted them, fully aware of the emotional anguish it caused the grieving parents.
For him to post these images and videos without permission or even a heads up or even asking was insane to us, you know, and especially with the nature of the post, you know, the grisly detail of the autopsy examination and also pictures of the child's head. It was baffling that he would do something like that.
So, Seth, let me get this straight. After the couple discovered these videos the doctor posted, the family's attorney says they issued a cease and desist letter, and then Dr. Gates deleted the videos. But then what happened?
Well, they say Dr. Gates removed the videos, but that he then reposted them again, even after he was informed of the emotional pain the couple suffered from the post he shared the first time around, Aisha.
In late 2023, Jessica and Traveon sued Dr. Gates and his company, Gates Rapid Diagnostic Laboratory of Atlanta, for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. The case went on to trial in mid-2025, and after 3 days of testimony, the jury sided with the family. In June 2025, a Clayton County jury awarded them $2.25 million in damages, including $2 million in compensatory damages and $250,000 in punitive damages, the maximum amount allowed by law. Their attorneys released a statement after the verdict saying, "While we are pleased that a jury punished Dr. Jackson Gates for his reprehensible behavior, nothing can ease the pain that the parents Jessica Ross and Traveon Isaiah Taylor Sr. have experienced in losing their baby boy in such a horrific way. After the decapitation of their baby, Gates poured salt into the couple's already deep wounds when he betrayed them. This young couple trusted him with the remains of their precious baby. Gates, in turn, repaid this trust by posting horrific images of their child for the world to see. The idea that this grieving family, who had already endured unimaginable loss, had to see their baby's body online, shared for clicks and attention, is beyond comprehension. Imagine if that were your child that you had just lost. It wasn't just a violation of privacy, it was a violation of basic human decency.
The amount of people that were texting them and calling them about these images being posted on social media, it was very traumatizing for them.
Treat everybody the same. Do not take advantage of people that you think can't defend themselves. That's the big message in this case on both levels.
Even though Jessica Ross and Traveon Taylor Sr. won their lawsuit against the pathologist, finally seeing a bit of accountability and what some might call justice, their fight was far from over. The couple is still trapped in a painful waiting game. Their first and most important case, the one against Southern Regional Medical Center and Dr. Tracy St. Julian, the doctor who delivered their baby, is still winding its way through the courts. That lawsuit, filed over the decapitation of their newborn during delivery in July 2023 remains active in Clayton County State Court. Both the hospital and Dr. St. Julian continue to deny any wrongdoing, and more than 2 years later, the case is still unresolved. But at least there is some active litigation against the obstetrician and the hospital in connection with this deadly delivery. Currently, since this case is ongoing, there are no public records that Dr. Tracy St. Julian was ever suspended or had her medical license revoked. According to public records, she appears to be still practicing. Meanwhile, there are still ongoing investigations by the Clayton County Police Department and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, both examining exactly what happened in that delivery room and why. So while the family has seen one legal victory, their emotional and legal journey is still very much unfinished. They're still waiting for closure and for true justice for their baby boy. We'll continue following the story closely, so if you want to stay updated on the next developments in this heartbreaking case, make sure you subscribe and follow along. Amid all the devastation, grief, and unimaginable pain, there is at least one glimmer of light in this story. In August 2024, Jessica and Traveon welcomed a baby girl, a beautiful daughter named Chanel. After everything they endured, after all the heartbreak and loss, the couple was finally able to hold a healthy child in their arms. But even with this new beginning, nothing can ever fill the void left by their son, Chanel's older brother, Traveon Jr. She will grow up never knowing him, and her parents will carry both the love and the loss of their first child for the rest of their lives. It's clear that this is a family built on resilience. Jessica and Traveon continue to speak out, to advocate for accountability, and to honor the memory of their baby boy. Their strength is a testament that love endures, even through the darkest chapters, and that some forms of justice are not found in courtrooms, but in the courage to keep going. What happened inside that Georgia delivery room was more than a tragic medical mistake. It was a complete and devastating failure of a system that was supposed to protect both mother and child. Every safeguard designed to ensure safety, transparency, and compassion broke down, from the delivery room to the hospital administration, to the communication that never came. The people entrusted with the care of this young family failed them in every possible way. Jessica Ross and Traveon Taylor Sr. placed their faith in a system built on trust. Trust that doctors would act quickly with complications. Trust that nurses would communicate. Trust that the hospital would be transparent. And trust that their baby would be treated with dignity even in death. Instead, that trust was shattered. What should have been the happiest moment of their lives became a nightmare that will follow them forever. This case isn't just about one family's unimaginable loss. It's about a healthcare system where preventable tragedies like this one keep happening because accountability comes too late, if at all. And while this case is still winding through the courts, the truth remains clear. The people responsible for safeguarding life failed to do their jobs in this case. No family should have to fight this hard for the truth or for justice after the loss of a child, let alone endure such a tragic and horrific death of their child. We'll continue to follow this case as it develops, and one can only hope that something like this never happens to another family or child ever again, because no parent should ever leave a hospital without their child, and no family should have to carry the weight of a system's failures alone. This has been Joshua John with Behind the Headlines, and until next time, stay safe.